So there's the order of the planets in our solar system, in the inner solar system, the outer solar system, then the Oort cloud with the long-range comets. Okay, what is a solar system? Well, okay, it's a system, and we all know that means it has to be what? Good, multiple things. Multiple things working together. And this is specifically saying solar system. What does solar mean? Sun. So there has to be a sun and some other stuff. So let's do, for now anyway, parts that include a sun. By the way, I am going to write this in there a little bit incorrectly, and we'll fix it. So you may want to wait. But if it's parts that include a sun, that's obviously not the end of the definition. Because if what's included is a sun, is it a system? Why not? Right, because it's just one thing. It's obviously not a system. So, all right, it's parts that include a sun and other stuff. Is it necessary to specify exactly what the other stuff is? Correct. No. Because think about this. If we say, like, oh, well, it has to have planets. Well, does that mean if there is something that is a star with a bunch of comets and asteroids orbiting it, does that mean that is not a solar system? No, it's still a solar system. It just doesn't happen to have any planets. So we don't have to specify what the other stuff is. Now, there's one other little thing to correct. This says that it includes a sun. Yeah, there's some little grammatical technicality there. No, because if we said the sun, that would mean specifically our one star.
Is there systems that have more than one sun?
Exactly. More than one sun. So I'm going to erase A and replace that with greater than or equal to 1. And now I see one other little thing I'm missing from this. So it's got to have one or more suns and the other stuff. That other stuff must be doing something. Exactly. The other stuff must be in orbit around sun or suns. We previously discussed the formation of a solar system as we were talking about, well, 13.7 billion years ago, there was a big bang. Stuff was really hot. Things cooled down. Things cooled down finally enough to give us the first elements. And which were the first two elements?
Helium and hydrogen.
Good, helium and hydrogen. Then it got, after that, too cold, but still really hot. So we didn't get any more elements for quite a while. But so now there's all these dust particles around in the universe. But then something happens. This is about 200 million years after the beginning of the universe. What happens is stars start to form because of, well, nebular theory, condensation theory. What is it that causes these dust particles to start to become stars? Good, gravity. So, from previous notes, gravity pulls blank together. Well, what is it that it's pulling together? Yeah, the matter, which is a very sciencey way of saying the stuff. So the dust, the matter, the things that were there, start pulling them together. And within all of that, likely there were very few solar systems per se at that point. a bunch of stars, but some of the stars start dying and then starting over again with solar systems. And as time progressed, we got more and more solar systems with things other than just stars. But anyhow, that's what you already know. Gravity pulling the particles together. The next part of the outline here. Number 1, solar nebula. Number 2, planetary nebula. Here's where that bonus extra credit, who can figure out what's wrong, is. This is what it was. Solar nebula, that's okay. We can leave that. But number 2, where it says planetary nebula, just scratch out planetary. Maybe we'll put smaller. Planetary nebula is the phrase that was being misused. Because what is a planetary nebula actually?
A planetary nebula.
It's something that happens to some stars when?
I mean, it's a real thing. She's just saying this is
Okay, you may recall that when we defined it before, I called it supernova junior. So where supernova can happen to a massive star, low mass and medium mass stars can experience an event that we misnamed planetary nebula after their red giant stage. So it's just kind of like a fireworks show version of a star, I'm dying, but not as grand of the fireworks show as if it were a massive star when we have a supernova. So that was the mistake. But anyway, back to solar system formation. If there's a solar nebula, well, solar is referring to, what does solar mean? Sun, good. And that's a cloud of dust that's going to turn into a sun. But wait a minute, we've already discussed the difference between a sun and a star. If it's a sun, well, then we're saying this nebula is going to turn into a star that also has solar system, so some other stuff with it. Now, before it becomes a true star and with other objects, it becomes the protostar. And we have talked about that before. During the protostar stage, what is happening to the temperature? Is it getting hotter or colder? We go from the cloud of dust to a star. Good. It's getting hotter until it's hot enough to be doing nuclear fusion. When I originally made this document, what I intended to go into that blank there was the word larger. So we'll go ahead and put that. It doesn't entirely make sense in light of the whoops of the planetary nebula, but okay. Larger cloud of swirling dust and gas that will develop into a star with some other objects. If there is a smaller, I'm going to say smaller part of the nebula previously mentioned. Some of those particles are going to, with gravity's assistance, clump together into what are called planetesimals. If it's called a planetesimal, well, even just listening to the sound of the word, what is it probably eventually going to turn into?
Planet.
Exactly, a planet. The planetesimals clump together and become what are called protoplanets. Really, again, same answer. A protoplanet will eventually become what? Planet. Now, the prefix proto, you are familiar with it even if you didn't realize it. As an example, maybe we've talked about this before, I don't know, but see on my iPad case how it's a little bit weird? The end is orange instead of gold. Because when Noblesville Schools was first starting to adopt iPads, a bunch of companies sent them examples of what they could sell to the entire district. They're not exactly what was sold to the district, but an example of what could be sold. In business, what do we call those? Prototype. Oh, right. It's like almost going to be the whatever it is. So protoplanet, protostar, the almost going to be what it is, but just isn't it yet. So anyway, this would then put the word smaller cloud, the smaller cloud of swirling dust and gases. The planetesimals and protoplanets are described as irregularly shaped bodies because they don't have a specific shape. Like they're not all like a hexagonal pyramid or they're all spheres. No, they're just bizarre looking shapes that kind of look like potatoes maybe. These things collide and coalesce to become planets. I'm pretty confident you understand the word collide. Who knows what coalesce means? Become one. Good. So like join, if you didn't realize that. The official science term for this process of the planetesimals and protoplanets coming together, the official term is called accretion.